feel so caught between not even just two worlds. It feels like 100. So the two that seem to stick out most is I feel torn between just being the most broken masculine there is, and also feeling this strange sense of like, I don't know, you ever see those movies where they'll have the sunset slowly coming up and there's like this orchestra playing, and it just all perfectly timed, and like they're showing spring happening and grass growing and flowers blooming, and there's just this triumphant music on the horizon. It almost reminds me of that scene in Homeward Bound when the animals made it home, you know? And I don't know, and then that reminds me of the song Homeward Bound, and that reminds me more of you. And I feel like right now in this time, like I have to keep myself separate and away from you because there's so much chaos, so many towers going on. I feel like I took too long. I let things go for too long. I didn't have good boundaries. I didn't do everything that I knew that I needed to. And it's a circus. It's absolute. It's a horror amusement park, and it's like, all the staff workers have gone on strike and the monkeys are out flinging food and poo at everybody, and I don't want to bring you into that anymore. I've already done that so many times, and the but there's so much of me that just feels like I should just accept this. I made this mess. I've been a coward. I've been a liar. I've been a player. I've done all these things. And when you called me out and so told, like, spoke the truth of how I have actually being, I felt like I shattered into a million molecules of sand and fell there right where I stood, and then somehow rematerialized again, but it was like none of the pieces actually fit together anymore. And it made me realize how much I actually was anchored by and just assured by your persistent unconditional love. I thought that I had convinced myself that I wasn't, that I didn't need it, that you were better off without me, that if I just kept distant, that you would be fine, everybody else would be fine, and I would just try to kind of hold this image together while I figured out what to do with my life when I didn't know what to do, and constantly feeling this pull to come back towards you, but feeling like I couldn't because I got myself into these contracts and agreements and things that I didn't even really actually agree to when I first got into it. And I thought that I had everything straight. I thought that I had negotiated properly before this relationship. I thought I knew what I was getting into, and I realized I didn't know any of it. I just jumped and I didn't think about the future. I didn't think that far ahead. I didn't. And when it all became a mess and I couldn't even hide it anymore, it just became, it is what it is. And I got mad at everybody, and I got mad at you, and I pushed away everybody and anybody that might possibly tell me the truth and say, "What are you doing? You look like crap. Your life is crap. Your bills are crap, and things are not going in a good way for you. You got to change something." Because I didn't want to face that again. It just feels like I've repeated these cycles so many times, and you tried to tell me, and I didn't listen, and I'm so I know that you aren't the type to say I told you so, but I just keep hearing it in my head. And it's not always in your voice, but it just feels like the same, I don't know, like masochistic self-punishment of like my feminine told me. She warned me. She cautioned me. She did all these cool but creepy spiritual things and tried to warn me. She learned about people. She knew what was happening, and I let it happen anyways. And then when it happened, I wasn't even masculine enough to say, "You were right." All of that happened, and I wasn't man enough to, I didn't have the balls to say enough and free myself, and I stayed and I stayed and I procrastinated and I overthought it, and now I'm sitting here desperately doing everything I can not to scream out at the moon for your help, for that anchor that I had in you just saying hello, good night, sending me a an oddly timed meme that was just right when I needed to see it, even calling me out on my shit in ways that nobody else knows how to do quite like you, in the strange way that you'd send little pictures here and there that just I didn't even know I needed to see them. And it feels like now I'm in this place where I feel like I'm far too broken to have any interactions with you. Look at what you're doing. Look at how good you're doing. I mean, you were even able to share such crazy feelings with me at the cost that it might lose me. That's bravery that I can't even fathom quite yet. And yet, somehow, because you did it, and because of my own shame cycles and pain body, I'm sitting here going, I have to change this. And I can tell you, feminine, like so many people have told me many of the same things, but they didn't know how to say it just like you did. They didn't know how to trigger just the right buttons and say the right things to where I felt like this fire growing in my belly and this ache in my chest that if I don't change it, I'm going to be miserable forever. That I can't stay broken. I can't. And it's weird because then I see that like kind of triumphant end scene homeward bound stuff, and I think about you and I think about how badly I broke you multiple times, how long you waited, how long you forgave, how many times. And I think, the worst thing that I can do is give up. And the hardest thing is that I just really don't know what to do in this moment, and I can't describe for you the things that I'm going through because I know, I know you. You're going to say, but masculine, it's just that simple. Just leave. Just get your own place. Just do your own thing. Just change the job. Just drop the thing. But it's not that easy. I don't know why it's not that easy. All I can say is that it's not that easy, and you're not in my shoes. But I know you know what it's like to go through experiences that just aren't that easy. I can imagine that's how you feel about trying to stop loving me. And I will figure out how to explain it one day. And I feel like all I can do is say, just keep doing you. Just keep glowing up. Keep raising your vibration up because there's something about it. There's something about it, and I feel like I never really valued it until the moment when I feel like I didn't have it anymore. I feel like as much as I thought that it was crazy that I thought about you as often as I did before, that I think about you even more now. Now that the connection is not so secure, now that it feels like you might actually soar off and move on, now I feel like I'm sitting here thinking about how I didn't even realize how much I missed the stronger connection that we had, especially the friendship. You've been probably my only actual friend. And I can think of how many times that I told you that you weren't a good friend when I was the last person who should be talking about that. And but now I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? If my feminine can say that stuff to me and she can walk through the fire and the valley of death and all that stuff of that I put her through, then I have to at least be able to get myself free of this situation. I must be able to. I mean, look at this incredible mess that I created that I didn't even think I could do that, and I did. Feminine, this is what drives me crazy is I feel like even you could say the worst possible things to me, and yet somehow I feel like you've trained me to come back to recognizing how many ways you've taught me to love myself, to look at the masculine in the mirror and say, hey, you're a good guy. The little steps are still steps. You can take a few bigger ones. Just put on a half smile and take a few steps, chunk it down. Just do two or three things at a time. It'll get you there faster than trying to write out a list of 20 and feeling overwhelmed. and listen to some sweet music at night when you have a hard time sleeping, and take care of yourself. Eat a little better every day. Go to bed at a good time. If you're having a hard time with that or there's other things in the way, then start creating boundaries for yourself so that you get there. It's okay if you get there slowly, but it's not okay if you stay stuck in I don't know land. I can think of so many things that you have shown me, that you've told me, that you've been an example of. And there's just something about watching you glow up even without me that's both it's heartbreaking and yet magnificent. Heartbreaking because I feel like, what value do I have to bring to your life? You can make money, you can be mom and dad, you can raise up communities, you can manifest new realities. You can change people's minds with a simple mantra. What do you need me for? But then on the other side of that, that also it shows me that if you're still telling me that you want me, if you're still talking about it, if you're doing good and those are the thoughts in your head, then maybe I've been in the wrong place to continue beating myself up and looking only at what I don't like. Maybe I need to do this stuff that yeah, I remember that I did the stuff you talk about. I remember all the times you've talked about it, all the manifestation things and the weird spiritual stuff. I did listen to it. I did do it. That's how I succeeded with the few things I have now. And it was only when I stopped doing those things, when I let other people get into my head, when I let them make fun of me for it, when I got back into pessimism and in the other dimension, that's when things started to fall apart. When I let people convince me that you weren't genuinely as wonderful as you appear, that you consistently appear, that you're not that kind, that you're really just hiding it. They got into the fear space in my head, and I felt like I had to test you more, and I had to prove to myself and prove to them that either you were exactly what I feared and what they said, or you weren't, and they needed to knock it off. And I just got met time and time again with you doing the imperfectly perfect thing pretty much every time. Even now, as mad as I would like to be about the recent conflicts that happened between us, I can't, because it was oddly perfectly timed, and it was just what I needed to hear and face. And I can see now from the place that I sit that that was exactly what you knew needed to happen, and you just listened to your intuition in all the ways you continued to tell me to do. And true to yourself, you were willing to do the hard things. You were willing to speak the truth. You were willing to be authentic. You were willing to be vulnerable and share things with me I know you don't share with almost anybody else. And then I get called into thoughts about the idea, like, I mean, I've been away for so long and I've been so awful that you probably are ready to go and explore things with soulmates and take off and explore the world. And it just crushes me, the thought of you doing that without me. And even more, it crushes me at the thought that you might have a new masculine come in who does the things for you that I was too selfish and foolish and stubborn to do, because I mean, they're all so easy, and you definitely deserve them, and I'm more than capable of them, but I didn't do them. And it feels like a karma that I deserve to face, especially after all the things that I've done to you. But I still don't want it to happen, and I know that it makes me the biggest hypocrite in the world. You've called me out on that many times. I mean, I've been wrapped up with karmic after karmic, even when we had union before. I let them get in the way, all sorts of third parties, friends, exes, romantic, like lovers, work, family, all the things. I've let them all get in the way, and I feel like emotional breakdown guy to be sitting here thinking about the prospect of you even having a good guy friend who takes over the place as your best friend that I used to have, and you sharing your thoughts and asking those questions that nobody else thinks to ask, and you telling them about the things that you see that nobody else sees. And like, I feel good and glad that somebody else gets to experience that. It's not just me, but I feel jealous that you'll be giving that to someone else and not me. And that reminds me of a lesson that you tried to help me learn when I was doing that to you. You were always so good. You were never the overly jealous type. You let me have my friends of any culture, gender, and type. But there were times when I gave them far more attention than I gave you, and you held it in for so long until you finally told me, look, masculine, I don't mind if you want to give attention to others, but I do not take it kindly when you give it to them and not to me, because we are supposed to be in union. We're supposed to be in love. And that love should first come home and be between us before it is given out and dried up, sucked dry by everyone else. And you tried to tell me that if I did that, that there would be more than enough to go around, and I didn't listen. I was afraid. To be honest, I think I'm realizing more and more now that I am afraid of genuine love, of truly kind people just like you, because I'm not used to them. It's unpredictable to me. It really shouldn't be. I've watched you, especially over this separation and all the years that I've known you, be consistently kind. Yeah, you have your moments, and boy, you can be very Queen of Swords, but I know that you are consistently divine and aware and thoughtful and intuitive and loving. I know it because even when I try to be mad at you, it doesn't last long. Because then something comes in, somebody who acts like you, somebody who flirts like you. I see something on TV that reminds me of something you told me that was a positive thing. Like something as simple as always think good thoughts about yourself. Look for the good. Don't focus on the bad. Little steps still matter. There's so many things. And when I think those things, I think about how stupid it is that I'm mad about something that you did once in a while. And how I used to get so stuck on those things. I couldn't see the forest for the trees, and I overfocused on your flaws rather than the beautiful treasures of everything about who you are. And more importantly, who you are to me. And I see that I've done that, and I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed of all the things that I'm feeling right now, and I'm in this karmic situation where I feel like I just want to jump out of my skin, and I've got so many different shadows that I have not faced, and it feels like I need to jump now. It feels like it needs to be right now. And I feel so unprepared. There's so many things that I procrastinated away. Relationships, people's lives, my connections, my dreams and goals. I don't feel prepared at all, and yet I feel like now is the time that I need to jump. And I keep trying, and it feels like all the little things that I faced with this karmic, all the little ways that she's kept me in, between threats and shame and reactiveness and all that stuff, that they're all coming in right now. And that I'm facing each one of them, one right on top of the other. And then on top of that, my own bad karma, my own lies, my own procrastination, all my own stuff. And it's all happening all at once. And I feel like I'm sitting here and all this stuff is happening to me while you're over there with the Midas touch and spirits bringing you money and friends and things to be happy about. And I look at all the time, we both had the same amount of time. And look at you, you're prepared for this. It's like you knew this was going to happen. You knew we were going to have some sort of conflict. You knew that something was going to happen. You knew that there was going to be this pressure and this build. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. You've always paid more attention than I have. But I feel like I need to jump away from all of this. But I also feel like I'm still in that place that I was before all the towers happened, where partially I was comfortable in the situation because it was one that I understood. It was toxic and abusive and overwhelming, and I was used to that. And it was easy to sit in that because that's what I'm used to. And the other part of me that goes, I need to get out of here. It's only going to get worse. And I see that I have so much more potential and I deserve more. And I really want to be with my feminine. I want to feel good enough to be with my feminine, but I don't know what to do. And I feel like I spent so much time saying I don't know what to do that my spirit guides are now down here kicking me in the ass in the way that you used to. Telling me, but well, what are you going to do, masculine? What do you want? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What you going to do? You're going to stay in this? You're going to stand up for yourself? You're going to sit there and be a coward about it? I feel like I need to jump right now. I just need to stop the fighting, stop the overwhelm, get out of this loud and dangerous environment, and just get somewhere where I can think for myself. Maybe get to a thinking spot. Just get there and just think about things and plan them out a little bit better. But I don't feel like I have any time to do it. It feels like everything is crumbling around me, and I feel like I should know what to do, and I don't. I just know I need to get out of here. I need to get somewhere where I can think for myself. And the crazy thing is, that's probably one of the first times I've ever had that thought. But I'm focusing on it because while it comes from a place of being overwhelmed and stuck in icky dimensions, it also feels like something that I've never done before. The thought of doing things for myself. I mean, I used to be so afraid of that idea of taking responsibility, taking credit, but I can see from this karmic situation that was the lesson that I needed to learn, that I can't always put myself in a situation where there's someone else to blame, someone else to make the decision, so I don't have to say that it was my choice. And so, if no matter what I do, it's going to be to my credit and my blame, I might as well be on my own so that at least I'm not also responsible for what everybody else does. And I can remember you telling me similar things, and I didn't hear them then, but I certainly hear them now. They're ringing in my ears so loud. To do something that I've never done before, and I'm going to do it somehow. I feel deeply bruised in so many ways, but there's this strange voice in the back of my mind that's coming up from my heart that says, but you're not broken, masculine. You're only bruised. You can do this. You've done crazier things before, and this is probably one of the only things that actually makes sense. And look at how many times you've not listened to your intuition or your feminine or spirit. How many times do you want to look back and say, I wish I would have listened? Versus how many times do you want to look back and say, I'm so glad I listened this time? That's what I'm telling myself, feminine. I want to I want to change my reality. I want to change my story from I wish I would have listened and I don't want to hear I told you so to I'm so glad I listened and you told me I could do it and I did. That's what I'm focusing on, feminine. And while I do that, just keep doing you, because there's something crazy about it that I'm just so proud of you, and yet it also makes me incredibly envious, and like I just feel like I have to catch up. So just keep doing it.